Hello, my name is Matt Bird, and welcome to the PublishU podcast, where we feature the real life stories of authors from around the world. Today, I'm talking with Marcella Jenoure from London in the UK, who has written a book called Quietly Courageous. Welcome, Marcella.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you so much. It's really good to be here.
And we're super excited about your book, now published globally.
I know it is, yeah, hard to believe actually, but it's really exciting. Yeah.
Well, let's do the backstory first, and we'll come on to talk about your book. So tell us all about you.
Yeah, so I'm a mum of two. I have two children. Uh, they are 11 years apart. So my youngest is going to be 15 this year, and my eldest is going to be 26 this year.
Wow.
Um, I have a background in, well, from my job wise, I have a background in sort of customer service across different sectors. And I've also got a background in health coaching, life coaching, as well as mastery coaching as well, which I've done for a very long time. I actually transitioned a couple of years ago to prioritize looking after my youngest child. Um, and I was being rerouted a little bit. So yeah, so the book is a new edition.
And you're another child. They say, well, I say
Yeah.
actually, writing and publishing a book is like having a baby. The real work begins when
Absolutely.
it's born. So
Absolutely.
that's the space we're in now. You've got a third child. Don't tell
Yeah.
the others. We don't need sibling rivalry. Oh,
Absolutely.
very good. So professionally, you worked in coaching and mentoring. Is that that's your background, yeah?
So in health coaching, in life coaching,
Yeah.
working with women, working with probably in the last few years up to when I was transitioning from that space, I was doing more faith-based coaching, which was really lovely. Yeah, which is great.
Yeah. Amazing. Very good. And so when did you first think, I'm going to write a book? When did that happen?
Oh gosh, actually, that seed got planted a really long time ago, probably over a
Yeah.
couple of decades ago.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been something that's been very close to my heart to do. It felt very important to do. And it's just not materialized, not through a lack of attempt, but it's just not materialized until meeting you and publish you. So this is a very long awaited dream for me. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And did you have any false starts where you started to write and got stuck or was advised by the wrong people? I mean, what false starts did you have?
Yeah, I did. I think probably like a lot of people, I had to learn the hard way, unfortunately. So I got very close. I was actually going to enter into a contract with a publishing company, and we were in the process of writing my script. Everything had been outlined. Um, and unfortunately, there was just a few things I didn't know about how the company worked. There wasn't much structure and not much support. So after the initial sign up, I guess you were kind of very much left to your own. It was really down to you as to making it happen, and you could only access email support as well, which wasn't great. So for me, that didn't work. So unfortunately, yeah, it did materialize.
Oh, but we helped you do it. And now you've got a
Absolutely,
book. So
absolutely.
tell, tell us about the book, Marcella. It's called, I love the title, Quietly
Mm,
Courageous. Tell us about the heart of your
yeah,
book, please.
yeah. So it's a really for me it was really a special time to write this book. So quietly courageous is not so much about the volume of how we show up, but more just the quiet and steady intent on the inside that we have to show up. And it's really for mothers who have been really impacted by betrayal, by partner betrayal, not necessarily in the guise of a maybe not to undermine situations, but it's not your one off transgression. It's more women that have been impacted by what's classed as, I guess, high betrayal trauma, which is just high levels or reoccurring levels of the situation. Um, and I think for a lot of situations, mothers and women and men can get to walk away from situations that, you know, are are discouraging or uncomfortable or even maybe in situations that are classed as abusive. But unfortunately, when there are children, it means that those situations aren't so easy to just disconnect and completely walk away from. There still has to be this continuation of communication, of family to some degree. So the book is really written for mothers who are quietly rebuilding, carrying a lot of responsibility. However, they just have a few struggles that are more nuanced than a typical single parent family. So I really wanted to speak to that in the book and offer support in that way.
And so, what's your advice to people that have been through that kind of experience?
I think that's a challenging question to answer because everybody's story is unique. Um, I would say from the heart, the essence of what I would suggest is to first of all know that there's nothing wrong with you. You're not alone in that sense. And sometimes the time that it took to get into that situation and experience those impacts, um, it also requires time to acknowledge that and create space and create safe spaces to really, I guess, digest what's happened and really work through what's happened. There isn't a fixed timeline, but so my advice would be to be really intentional about the support that you seek and to understand that your emotions are valid, your experience is valid, and also just to understand that through faith and through decision making that can come from self trust again once it's been rebuilt can really see different outcomes that don't necessarily match what you're facing at the moment.
Mm. And so, where does the quietly courageous piece come into the encouragement you're giving people?
Mm. I think rebuilding life is something that many of us know, depending on what's brought us to that point of having to pick ourselves back up. I think for me, quietly courageous is about the rebuilding that takes place in the background. It's not really in your face, it's not really obvious because it might just look like the woman going to work and picking her children up every day. It might just look like the cleaning and the cooking. It may look like turning up and doing the role at a full-time job, or it might look like she's leading small teams while she's got things of this emotional weight going on in the background. And because of the nature of betrayal trauma, it's not something that's typically spoken about openly. It's a very sensitive subject. So it's common for a lot of women to keep this to themselves. So therefore, when they are rebuilding, when they are working through that process of healing, it's not really loud, it's quiet and it's steady, but it is happening. So that's where the title came from, Quietly Courageous, because it takes so much courage to even imagine yourself in a different place, in a different life, let alone trying to build and rebuild towards one. So this is really about spiritual formation, and also a spiritual rebuilding of, and restoration of identity. Because when we actually restore that place within us first, then we can really build on something strong.
Mm, beautiful. And Marcella, you mentioned earlier about doing the writing my book course
Yeah.
as the journey you took to actually get this book written, which you tried
Yeah.
numerous times.
Yeah.
Um, what was it you most valued about the journey you took with us?
Gosh. I can say so much about the course, and the positive things that it did for me. I think for me personally, the things that stand out was first of all the structure. Um, I think sometimes I had to almost relearn how to approach time management, relearn how to approach navigating, because we all say, oh, we don't have time, we don't have time. And actually, there's this wonderful space that you can find in a structure like PublishU where you realize how to create time, and reprioritize. And that's what it did for me. And I think just the new, I guess, the fresh sense of self-discipline I discovered in myself as well. Because let's face it, as mums, as parents, as people, we're tired. We have long days. So this was like, okay, how can I make time for something that I know is important to me, but also how can I make it fun? And how can I use the structure to my advantage? So let's just say there was no TV for a long time. There was no
And
TV.
do you feel any the worse for that?
Absolutely not. No, in fact, no, no, it's great. But just where you probably have that pocket of time, you have your routine. You may come in from work, you may bunk yourself down and watch something. There just wasn't that. It was whatever spare time I was very much intent and focused on writing. So it just brought a lovely rhythm of writing to the
Yeah.
space. Yeah.
And was there a particular sweet spot in your schedule that you found was really good for writing?
At first, I thought it was going to be quite mechanical. I thought I was going to pick this time and do this routinely. And then, as per single mum life, the week shifted and priorities shifted. So I had to learn to shift with it. And it was like, okay. And that's what I think really helped me, just being really flexible. There was structure, which kept me on track, but there was also I guess I just had to think that I was going to be open minded and flexible within that structure. So that if it didn't happen on this particular day, it was then about, okay, what day is it now going to happen? And but just still sticking to that accountability.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow, beautiful, beautiful. And so your biggest obstacle, your biggest challenge was creating, prioritizing the time. And
Absolutely, absolutely. And
and
obviously, you helped to keep us on task as well, which was great.
carrot and stick
Yeah,
sometimes, but
yeah,
mostly carrot.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's beautiful, beautiful to hear. And
yeah.
how do you feel now that your book's published and out there for the world to buy and read? And
I yeah, I think I'm still digesting that, but honestly, I feel so privileged. I feel really humbled because I think although I've wanted to write a book for a long time, there's that little question sometimes like, can you really do it? Can I really do it?
mm,
Um, so I heard a lovely I heard someone say something. I think something in the PublishU space, and they said I learned I could do hard things and finish them, and I learned I could do that well. And I think that's something that I really kept with me throughout the process.
wow.
There were challenges, but I think because of the structure, because it was so well organized,
Yeah.
you just knew that it was going towards something that, and I guess also what I would like to say is just to trust the process. Yeah.
Beautiful. So as we wrap up today, Marcella, what is the hope that you hold for the impact your book's going to have in the world?
I really hope this book just helps to spark a different type of conversation for mothers, and especially those that have been impacted by partner betrayal, that there'll be a new, I guess, a fresh energy and a new sense of hope around rebuilding and, that process of restoration and healing.
Beautiful, wonderful. Well, we join with you in that
Mm.
hope for your book, Marcella, because it's so
Thank you.
beautiful. So thank you for joining us today, and thank you all for listening to the Publish You podcast, featuring the genuinely real stories of authors from around the world. And if you're interested in becoming an author like Marcella, then please do reach out to us at our website, www.publish, the letter u.com, publishu.com. And if you enjoyed this broadcast, make sure you subscribe for more. And thank you for joining us, and goodbye for now.